Well, you know, there's a long story. I don't know if you want to hear this story, but you remember 1968? Well, the psychiatric aides at the hospital where I worked, the hospital was owned by the state, and these psychiatric aides were paid less than the minimum wage of the state. In other words, the state was breaking its own laws. And in 1968, there was a revolution all over the world, especially in places like Paris, London, New York, and, funny enough, in Little Topeka, Kansas. Even Martin Luther King's wife, Coretta King, was on her way. I think she came to Kansas. And there was a revolution in the hospital. And we, the medical staff, demanded that our superintendent resign, and he did resign. And there was a terrible scandal in Kansas over this, and there was a big inquiry. And I remember the lawyer on behalf of these poor psychiatric aides was the lawyer that argued the case of forget who it was, against the state of Kansas. It was a big school integration case. I forget who the student was. So he was a big wheel in the black community and in the legal community. And somehow, through a very complicated story, I became one of the good guys, one of the bad guys, because the chief psychiatric aide on my wards was white, and he didn't get arrested, and all the black ones did get arrested. Therefore, I was a bad guy. And I said to him after the court hearings and so on, we walked out of the building and walked down the street, and he said to me, "You white guys just don't get it, do you?" He said, "It's all written down. If you'd only open your eyes and read it. What we want is blood in the streets." Can't remember how he said it, but he also made clear that he was a full-blooded communist. I mean, it just bowled me over. I didn't know there was such a thing as full-blooded communists in the United States at that time. But he was, and the pamphlets he was referring to were communist pamphlets. And I had to leave. The superintendent of the hospital got reinstated, so that was the end of my job. I didn't have to leave, but I knew I'd better. And so I came back, and I met the new chief here, Robin Hunter, very impressive fellow. And I knew things in psychiatry were going to get better here in Toronto, so that's why I came back. And I worked at Sick Kids for a couple of years, part-time. And then I had a lot of advanced credentials, so I looked very good as a candidate for the children's service job here, and so I got that job. That's how I came back to Toronto.